and Nissan would be trading all their engineering. They'd be developing their own cars, obviously sharing platforms, maybe drivetrains. But if you think, but then they instantly have, almost twice the amount of engineering talent, which is
Right.
what makes great cars.
Right. They will. And it's a great we've talked about this that it's hard for manufacturers, especially ones that are struggling
Yep.
to, build electric cars, build hybrid cars, talk about some of the safety features that they have to add. So it's definitely a difficult situation. I could see it being a pretty exciting merger, but well, I don't know. We'll open that up to our viewers and see what they think for sure. But let's talk a little bit about one of the vehicles that Honda is bringing back, and that is the Prelude. Prelude. When did the Prelude go away? That was a long time
Boy,
ago, wasn't it?
uh, I think it was in the 90s. I'll have to check that. I mean, it came out in 78 or so.
Mm-hmm.
And but I think it was gone by the end of the 90s. I will check on that as we're talking.
Yeah, and it is. This would be the sixth generation of the Prelude. It will bring back the joy of driving into the electrified future. This would be a two-motor hybrid powertrain. Great looking vehicle. As you said, first introduced in 1978. And as we talked about last week, Honda is celebrating 25 years of electrification. Of course, we talked a little bit about how they brought out the hybrid. They were the first to bring in the hybrid to the U.S. Don't know a lot about this vehicle, but it is a sporty looking vehicle, and who knows? I mean, it's kind of looks like the Z, doesn't it, in many ways, the shape of
Well,
it.
it does, but it has some of the original styling cues of the Preludes, which, by the way, ended production in 2001.
Yes,
That's a long time ago.
that
I,
is a
I,
long time ago.
I don't usually think of it that way, but that's a long time ago.
Yeah,
So yeah, I think, and by the way, it's the same script on the name. I I just think I like this. I really I'm quite attracted to this.
yeah. And there it is with its original. I remember a lot of preludes from the past. But yeah, it's something I'm looking forward to, and we'll see what happens. Now, over at Nissan, they have an idea, and I want to get your take on this. Of course, we've seen this before where a new model comes in, and just for comparison to a new model of the Kicks comes in. The Kicks is a
Right.
very popular vehicle. It just got a great refresh. A lot of people are pointing to it as a great possibility for Nissan to break out of their sales doldrums. But they're still going to sell the old model as the Nissan Kicks Play for a reduced price. But we'll tell you if this reduced price is something that makes it a good buy on Cruise Control. We'll be right
Yeah.
back. Do you remember the Prelude, Les? I do. It
I
was one of
do.
them.
Actually, I had two friends who had Preludes. They were, by the way, they were disproportionately sold to women
Okay.
because women really liked the styling. They relied on Honda because it was a reliable car. And I rode around in a few and really liked them. I mean, they were uh, they were a dramatic in '78. They were a dramatic change from the basic Honda Civic,
Right.
which was basic. that's 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 the word, and they just caught on great.
Um,
So once again, I just think there's a place for them.
it has kind of the look of the BRZ almost, doesn't it?
It does.
Or the 86.
Yeah.
Um, I'm interested to see if, not that I think it's great they're bringing it back, but that kind of, two-seat or 4+4 sporty car, limited market for it?
It's a limited market. Anything with two doors is a limited market.
And non-SUV, non-crossover.
Non-SUV. But I think buyers we're getting now through generations. I think there's a whole generation coming up that's sort of saying, "Do I really need an SUV?"
You think so? Do you think
I
that
think
is
so. Maybe it's wishful thinking on my part, but I think so. I think
all right?
just as
We're
our
coming back.
generation, yeah,
Cruise Control.
Welcome back to Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. Les Ram did it when they had their Ram Classic, right? They
the
kept the
Ram
old
Classic.
for a
Yep,
long time. How long did they do that for?
that was 4 or 5 years. Um, because here at the DC Auto Show every year we had to explain to people, no, that's the classic. They're still making it.
Right. And
Yeah.
they only stopped, I think. They had been making it for so long. I think they only stopped this year. Or is it
This
2020?
past year,
Yeah.
right?
So 2024, I believe, was the last. So Nissan, as we were just talking about, there's financial trouble. They might merge with Honda. There's a lot of talk going on. We don't know how it will all shake out, but they have a new CEO and they've got to start doing things, right? So one idea is to keep around the old Nissan Kicks and sell it as the Nissan Kicks Play. Now, the new one is a lot swoopier. It has an optional all-wheel drive capability. It's got the new front-end look. It's a vehicle that they are really hoping will help Nissan. But they're going to sell the Nissan Kicks Play. Now, here's the thing. The Nissan Kicks Play starts at $21,520. Doesn't have a lot of different models. I think it's just that model, 21,520. But the 2025 Nissan Kicks S, which is the new model, that starts at 21,830. So the question to me, to you, from me to you, is yes, this is a good idea, but is it enough of a big difference?
No,
Because,
I mean, $300. I don't really care who you are and how much money you make. Against a $20,000 plus vehicle, that's not a whole lot of money to consider.
and
And
if
the
you're
federal tax
financing it,
on
it's nothing.
it's nothing, and it doesn't mean much in the federal tax. So maybe what Nissan is thinking is that the base new Nissan kicks, like the base new anything, hardly anybody buys it. They always buy the next trim level or two
Right,
trim levels up.
right.
So I think maybe that's what they expect to happen. They're probably right that people will walk in there and say, "Well, gee, I'd like to get the new Kicks S, but I got to spend another $3,000 for the stuff I want when I can get the Kicks Play that has some of this stuff in it, and it's much cheaper because that starts becoming real money."
Yeah, yeah, you're right. Now, the Play includes Nissan Safety Shield 360, a 7-inch touchscreen, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, 16-inch wheels, split full rear seats, easy fill horn alert, tells you when you're up to the proper inflation, even 3 oil changes. So I think you raise a great point, though, about this. Yeah, 21,520 for the Play versus the new model at 21,830. A lot of people are not going to buy the base level machine, so that spreads out the range, right?
And also, the dealer, is going to be willing to do some serious negotiating on the Play and not particularly want to negotiate on the S.
The other place the Play will go will be to fleets for rentals and things like that.
Right, right.
So, it may be. We always like to have our audience realize that there may be some deals out there. It may be worth looking at it. 2025 Nissan Kicks Play. It's very well equipped for that price, and there aren't many vehicles that are in that price range.
I mean, 21,000 is Play money, these days in the world of buying cars. So I think it'll work.
Also, I bet you can find some 2024s that you can really discount. Say, well,
I'll bet.
I'll give you 17 grand for it. How's that?
Yeah.
So, I mean, the previous generation Kicks was great. It was fine. There was nothing wrong with it.
Very good.
Yeah. So, there you have it. It could be a deal. It could be a deal for you.
Mm-hmm.
We're not sure, but it is certainly taking a page out of what Ram has done for quite some time. And Chevy would do that too. They had like Malibu Classics and things like that.
Yeah.
They call it Classic. And you could probably look back and find that throughout history that they just keep making the model. Hey, they got the parts, they got the pieces. Why not? Now, speaking of Ram, our next story is about the Ramcharger. And this has been a common theme throughout this year of all electric vehicles getting pushed back in preference for hybrids. In the case of the Ramcharger, we are not talking about an actual hybrid. We're talking about an extended range electric, meaning the engine charges the battery, and that means you can tow and not lose range. And it gives it an incredible traveling range for sure, and 663 horsepower, 615 pound-feet of torque with 14,000 pounds of towing.
Yeah, that's very serious capability.
And this is a 1500 pickup. This is not a heavy duty. And I think this technology has a lot of promise. It really does. It has an onboard 130 kilowatt generator. I believe it's powered by a Pentastar V6, if I am correct. And then you get something like a 600-mile range, I believe, with this, because you have the battery range, and then it's replenishing the battery as you go. Now, originally, when the old regime was, or not so old regime, whatever you want to call it, was at Ram, they said, well, we're going to push forward the fully battery electric version of the Ram, and then the Ramcharger will come out later. Well, as you know, just last week, they've got new leadership, and immediately they're like, you know what? That battery electric will wait a little bit. The Ramcharger is coming out first. Just another example of how electric vehicles are, the market and how it's changing for people. They want more range. They want the capability in a truck of towing without losing a lot of your range. And extended range electrics, I think we're going to talk about them a lot in 2025. How about you?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. This is, in my opinion, this is overdue. It's been a long time since the Chevy Volt was the only thing out there.
Yes.
And it's great technology. It works. And it also says how fast Stellantis can change gears.
Amazingly, yes.
Yeah. It's a couple of weeks.
A couple of weeks, if that, and there's a lot of hubbub about them dropping the Hemi back in to the new Charger, and we're going to talk a little bit more about Stellantis after the break. There's a lot going on actually, and I think it's one of the biggest turnarounds right away. Apparently,
Yeah.
Tavares, who was in there, was really a roadblock to a lot of these plans. And
Sure looks like he was a major roadblock. So
yeah. Another thing, great news for Jeep owners. There was a lack of an 8-speed automatic availability with the Pentastar V6 and the Jeep Wrangler, and that was going to be the way it was. You could only get it with a manual. Boom. New leadership comes in. Now that is back.
Yep.
The Jeep
That's
owners
right.
wanted the 8-speed automatic torque flight to be available with the V6, and it is back. So quick changes going on at Stellantis.
Yeah.
They are really hitting the ground running and trying to undo some of the damage of the former management. So let's see if they can be successful. But at least Jeep owners get what they want. To me, an 8-speed automatic with that V6 Pentastar is probably a pretty good team. We'll be right back
Well,
with Cruise
yeah.
Control. You know, Les, one of the things that companies should do is they should listen to their customers. If they want something, they should give it to them. And this is a great example of Jeep doing that. And I believe this is going to be the way Stellantis does it in the future, because the past was not a good year for them sales-wise.
No.
So,
And what's cool is that the new management at Stellantis is ready to, anything that makes good sense, they're ready to do it.
yeah, they're pumped
And
up.
the Jeep is a good example. Hey boys, how long does it take you to rip those stick shifts out and bolt in an automatic with the electronics? Oh, we can do that in a week.
I'll call the factory. Yeah.
No problem. Shut it down. Keep those manuals around for those that want them, and let's bring the automatic out like now.
Yeah. Yeah. I just
Great.
think you had someone running the company that didn't understand,
Yeah.
and
You've got. I mean, you know me. I'm always on the side of the engineers.
mm-hmm.
And when you've got a car company run by enough engineers, you get things done. If it's a business guy, excuse me, things get twisted.
Things get twisted. Yeah, they do. Hey, we're coming in. You're coming in.
Cruise control.
And welcome back to Cruise Control. Well, Fred and I are moving around the Stellantis brand, but we want to head over to Germany now.
Hello,
Well,
Germany. Come in, Germany.
Hello, Jerk. Come in, Germany. We're going to talk about Volkswagen, and they've decided to get rid of their venerable VR6 engine.
Yeah.
That thing's been around for easily 30 years. Okay. I was gonna
34
say-
years. 34 years.
So, you'd think, well, it takes a big decision to do that, but on the other hand, VW is always up for modernization and making things more efficient.
Yes.
And the V6, was very narrow, very, it didn't even look like a V6.
No, and it's very interesting about that. It was characterized as both a straight 6 and a V6. And if you look at the block,
Well,
it is
they're-
a 10-degree V, which it's
Yeah.
it's the idea was, let's put a straight six or V6. That's what the R means, I believe. The R means, if I can find the German word for it, um, I think it means V. Let's see. The V stood for V, like a V6, but the R was actually an I, but the Germans call it the Rhine motor. Translated, VR6 means
Right.
inline V6.
Yeah, so basically, you couldn't really see the 10-degree angle
No.
in the block, but you could see the angle more in the cylinder head,
Yeah.
where it looked like, a real squashed V.
Right.
It's,
Right.
but it was technically a V,
Yes. Now,
and that makes the engine much shorter.
was the W12 two VR6s?
I
Or was
don't
that
know,
its
but I
own engine?
don't think so.
Okay.
I'll look that up, but I just don't think so.
Well, you think about this now. They had a 2.8 liter version of this, which had 172 horsepower, and then they punched it out to 2.9 liters or 188. The thing is, they can now do that with the Turbo 4 easily. More than that. You look at the new GTI, it's going to have 241 horsepower, more horsepower than that in European trim. So you don't need that complexity or that many cylinders to get that kind of performance. I just think it was an interesting bit of engineering, though, and maybe the only time that such a narrow V, whatever you want to call it, V6 or straight six, was ever used. They even made a 5-cylinder version of it.
Yeah, and by the way, to answer your question about the W12, yes, it was in fact two VR6 engines.
Wow. So
Compact.
compact power. Yeah. Yeah. What was their top of the range luxury vehicle? Remember
Oh,
you?
that was the Phaeton. I drove a Phaeton on a 1,500-mile trip, and it was just a wonderful car. And every time somebody looked at it, uh, and I said, well, it was $94,000 at the time. They said, well, I'm not going to pay $94,000 for a Volkswagen.
Yeah, that was the problem. That was the
But it was
problem.
lovely, lovely. I mean, wow. I mean, what a heck of a nice car.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Well, W12's not around anymore either.
No, but the W16 is.
Yes, Bugatti, but that is not available in a Golf.
It's no, that takes up some space.
Yeah. That's a bit of trivia. I'd like to ask you to find out. Has there ever been other manufacturers using a very tight V like that?
I'm going to find out because I'm very curious about that myself. Off the top of my head, I just cannot think of any narrow V6 like that or V8.
And it used one cylinder head, too. That was one of the benefits of it, to use one cylinder head. So, hey, engineering, it's a wonderful thing.
Magnificent engineering. You just, it's just wonderful. I love the stuff. I love to take them apart.
Well, let's talk about, this doesn't have any cylinders. The new Dodge Charger, the electric vehicle, there's a big discovery. They had a press event. The big discovery is it can't do a burnout. It can't do a static burnout. Static burnout, of course, you use line lock, or you can even press the brake down and hit the accelerator till the tires break loose. Very easy to do on a Mustang or a Camaro. But they found out during this press drive you can't do that, and there is no line lock. And it is all-wheel drive, so there's no way to disconnect the electric motors on the front axle and spin the rear tires. Plus, it has a feature that if you both stand on the brake and the accelerator, it will shut the power off because it thinks you're, you know, something's wrong. You're pressing two buttons. So, what do you think about that? Is that like an oversight? That's what a lot of the journalists called it, an oversight, because that's what people with these vehicles previously, when they had Hellcats, did that, right?
I'm quite sure that the Dodge engineers could make it to a burnout. But you know what? I think it would slow down the 0 to 60.
It probably would, but it's about putting on a show, not going fast.
Yeah, but okay, now, but let's talk about burnouts for a second.
Well, they're not. If you have treaded tires, they're not. Even if you're dragging your car, they're not. You don't have to do like a giant burnout. You just have to spin the wheels a little bit to get the water out of the treads. But you don't have to do like a funny car style half-track burnout.
But how many times in the last year have you watched a car on the street do a burnout?
No,
excluding you.
No, but if you go to like Cars and Coffee or something that, people leave and they stop and then they light the tires up. Kind of dumb to do with people standing along the side of the road.
Not here at the Great Falls, Virginia, Cars and Coffee. The police are there every single Saturday.
Yeah.
And you can't do it.
Yeah. I always think it's a bad idea to do that if you're not on the track and you don't have guardrails on either side because...
And they're your tires.
Yeah, doesn't that kill you on those shows when they rebuild the car and this, let's see if it will do a burnout? I was like, let's see if it drives around a little bit before we do it.
Yeah, and I'll never forget Will Cooksey, the Corvette plant manager, doing it up at Carlisle with us.
We can put that right up here and you can see it, yes, purpose-built car.
It shredded the tires, knocked out some of the body pieces, panels.
Yes.
It was impressive. I'll give you that. It was impressive.
Of course, that was a test car that I say that in the comments when people get upset. It is, they're like, he ruined his car. No, that car was destined to be scrapped anyway, but... and it was repaired, by the way, and it lived another like 5 years. So, you know,
But back to the first part of our discussion, and no, I don't believe that's going to chase away any but the most devoted burnout freaks in America. Anybody else is going to buy the car.
Well, there's an interesting story this week about debate over, it was a parsed response when they said, does the Hemi fit into the new Charger? And of course, we know it does. Get out your torch, because we can make anything fit in anything.
Bring it to my shop.
We'll just start cutting
I'll get it in there.
Yeah.
May not be very pretty, but
I still think they will put it in there. I do. I know they have the straight six Hurricane, not the VR6 Hurricane. The straight six Hurricanes coming. Those are going to be the big sellers. I'm not sure if the electric version will sell well. I'm not sure. We'll have to see.
If a Hemi is offered, I think the electric is not going to sell hardly at all.
All right. Well, we'll be right back on Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. Stay tuned. Yes, I think they might be in trouble with the electric version. But what do you think? Let us know. Listeners, do you think they are going to sell any of these electric Chargers? I'm not sure. I'm really not. I think, once again, Stellantis, Tavares said, push the electric one first, and then we'll get the gas-powered six-cylinder Hurricanes. I think it was a mistake.
I think if anybody interested in a Charger Daytona gets in one electric and stands on the accelerator, they're going to fall in love with it.
Yeah, although I'm not sure. I think the Dodge buyer likes the sound and the fury. They don't. They're not looking for quiet and
Hmm.
or even generated sound. So I don't know. I don't know. But we can talk about kind of not the return of the Hemi, but there was not a lot of plans to have it come back for 2025. And now it comes out that Dodge is going to keep it around in the Durango. Hemi production has been extended for the SRT Hellcat and Dodge Durango RT models. I bet this is a decision that just happened as well.
Yes, I think somebody in this past week, somebody coming in running things said, "All right, do not close the Hemi production plant.
Right. And
Get the people in here and crank those things out."
get those Hemis out there. Yeah.
Yep.
I think that was a no-brainer, and basically what it boiled down to is they didn't want to pay for the points, if you will, for building something like a Hemi. It was cost-cutting, and I think though this is, they always say icon or halo. The Hemi is the halo vehicle for Dodge, and
Well, it is, and you give those fuel points costs to the buyer. That's all. It's $5.50 for every half mile per gallon that it doesn't meet the mileage criteria. So it's probably with these, it's probably less than a few $100s.
I also think they'll make them hybrids and get them into the low 20s, and
Yeah,
then
that's right.
and,
It's
and then
because it's the fleet average.
yeah, yeah. So there you go. Hybrid Hemi. I would bet it's coming. I would bet it's coming, or a smaller version of it with a hybrid drivetrain. That's what they
Right.
should have done. They should have done
Yeah.
like a 4-liter Hemi. Same sound, great sound. Doesn't matter
Hmm.
if it's a 6 or 4-liter. It's going to sound just as good, I think, with a hybrid drivetrain to really
Yeah.
give a real kick off the line. I think that would be great, but we shall see. We shall see what happens.
But you can bet it's going to happen.
You can bet it's going to happen. Exactly, exactly. Yep, that is great stuff. And what do you think? Hybrid Hemi, should it come out? I think it will. I think it will. When we're coming back in, and is it me this time? I think so.
It's me, and I'm going to talk about the fastest autonomous cars on the autobahn.
Cruise control.
And welcome back. Welcome back. Fred and I are talking about fast cars
Yeah.
this half hour, and we're not going to slow down here because we now can tell you about the fastest autonomous cars on the autobahn.
Yes.
This does not mean that you can drive them here,
No.
but Mercedes, and that, by the way, there are very, very few SAE Level 3 autonomous systems out there. Most everything you know about or are familiar with is Level 2. Mercedes has Drive Pilot. It's one of the Level 3s, and the system has just been approved to be the fastest certified Level 3 system in a production car. And in Germany, that means it can go how fast, Fred?
Very fast, Les.
Well, not that. I mean, not fast.
Autobahn fast.
Uh, It's been approved to be used at speeds of up to 95 kilometers per hour. That's 59
Okay.
miles per hour.
All right. But
But it's autonomous. So
yes,
any conditions.
and what's interesting about this on the on the exterior of the vehicle, turquoise lights illuminate to let people know you are in drive pilot. Drive pilot is active. That there is somebody behind the wheel, but don't necessarily have their feet on the pedals or their hands on the wheel. Not that anyone would know what a turquoise light is. They would just think,
Well, no.
like, oh yeah, you got a turquoise light. That's about it, right?
Um, yeah, but and by the way, they do not work on residential streets. The driver has to be able to take control if necessary. I mean, come on. uh, It'll be a long time before anything is so autonomous that the driver isn't responsible for taking control.
Yeah, yeah. But it shows, that there is progress in this, and Mercedes is doing a great job at this. And you and I have said we don't know how most manufacturers fit autonomous driving vehicle technology into their dance card because they have their hands full going from electric back to hybrids to plug-in hybrids to extended range electrics. And, for Mercedes to have this technology and advance it is good, don't you think?
It's very, very good. Well, most everything that we have here is level 2, including Tesla. Don't get me started. But and that's a lot of assisted driving. That's steering, steering assist, and of course braking, both forward and reverse, and all of these things, intelligent cruise control, which make driving any distance very pleasurable, frankly.
Mm-hmm.
And your hands have to be close by. So with their system, they have extra software, extra sensors. They know what's going on all around them, and this is I think this is kind of the way it should go in slow, uh, well thought out stages.
All right. All right. Well, let's go on to our next story. And, you and I are talking about kind of the future of automotive shows, right? We are talking about kind of the move away. Of course, we heard Motor Trend shutting down their studio, and there's one more season of most of these shows, build shows that it's around. And then they're kind of moving over to YouTube. But I wanted to bring out one show, and I know you mentioned one. I want you to mention it again. I think that's Ed Ansted's show. But let's talk about this Porsche Heritage Moments. They call it a film series. It looks back on 50 years of turbocharging. It's 4 episodes devoted to the history of Porsche turbos, historically significant moments, and the cars, as well as never before told anecdotes. Hardcore Porsche fans will love this. It's available on the Porsche YouTube channel, and it is in celebration of the 911 Turbo at the Paris Motor Show when it was revealed 50 years ago, and 8 911 Turbo generations after that. This is the type programming severe gearheads like, because it is not the funny guy with horn sticking out of his head or like 50,000 tattoos.
Right.
It
Beards.
is, will it start?
Covering.
What if it doesn't start?
Yeah.
I mean, it's silly for car people sometimes, those things. I used to say, like, if it doesn't start, you'll figure it out. But this is like hardcore information. I think this is the future of automotive television.
I do believe you're right, and I hope you believe you're right, because I watch a lot of it. You watch a lot of it. And I don't watch the stuff that's just been it's not really reality television. It's been set up for drama
Right. Forced
and
drama. Forced drama.
yeah, and occasionally a bunch of friction between the people that isn't there. Plus, as you said, the strange hair and the strange beards and uh, and the ridiculous short time frames. What we want is information
Right.
and watching somebody do something that maybe we've done or plan to do, or that's historic, like this. I mean, I've never been a real Porsche guy, but I will watch this because um, I want to know about the history of the turbocharger and how they kept developing and developing and developing,
Yeah.
um, because it's serious technology and it won a lot of races
And now it's common. You think about that.
and,
Now
and everything.
it's in everything. I remember people talking about turbocharging. You have to build your own system, and it's so exotic and
Yeah,
expensive. Now people are buying like $100 turbos off of eBay, Chinese turbos, and putting them on everything, and getting
that's right.
somewhat decent results. So, um, yeah, I just think it's a better format for people because it's extremely niche. You can go in hardcore. You don't have to have all the silliness. Um, and I'm interested like David Freiberger and others what they're going to do. That's of course a different show than this, but you
Right.
mentioned one Ant Anstead, right?
Ant Anstead, very nice guy, very, very good mechanic. He was on for a number of years with Wheeler Dealers. He's now back in Europe, in the UK, with Ant Anstead Born Mechanic.
Right.
And he's got a garage space actually on the grounds of his 500-year-old farmhouse that he's bought to build up. And boy, does it need restoration for his parents to retire in.
Oh wow.
And he's got his son and his daughter and a good engineer friend, and they're buying cars. Today, I just watched the episode today where they bought a '64 Thunderbird.
Cool.
I told them when the show started this morning, I said, don't buy a '64 Thunderbird
But they
and
did.
restore it and sell it in the UK. You won't make any money, and they didn't. But anyway, he uses whatever he makes out of these to get the work done on the farm. So it's kind of this old house and Wheeler Dealers level fixing and rebuilding, and it's fascinating.
Yeah, it sounds like two types of shows I like.
If you get HBO, you get Max, and it's on Max.
All right. Well, we appreciate you listening to Cruise Control. Hope you enjoyed the live stream. Time for me to say I'm Fred Staab.
I'm Les Jackson.
We are going to see you down the road.
Bye.
Bye bye.